Good morning. My name is Reverend Krista Taves. I'm the minister of this fine congregation, and I'm so pleased to welcome all of you to our worship this morning. Whether you are here on site or watching online from home, we are united as one community, more together than alone. This is a liberal religious community of spiritual seekers. We welcome you in the fullness of your age, race, ethnicity, gender expression, sexual orientation, and religious expression. Our faith is not lived in creeds, but in deeds, not in the hereafter, but in the here and now. Our core values are freedom, reason, respect, and love. If you are visiting for the first time, a very special welcome to you. I hope that you feel warmly welcomed, that the message speaks to you in some way, and that we will see you again. If you are here in person, please be sure to sign the guest book before you go, so we can stay in touch with you. And if you would like, please stay for coffee. We would love to get to know you. If you're visiting online, you can let us know you're here by emailing firstuualton@outlook.com so that we can personally welcome you to this beloved community. And now we'll have our prelude by Joy Houghton. Thank you, Joy. A central ritual in the Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. It symbolizes that we have prepared our hearts and minds for the blessing of beloved community that happens whenever we are together. If you're watching elsewhere and have a chalice or candle, please light it now with us as we all join in saying the unison words printed on the screen. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation as you are willing and able. Spirit of life, spirit of the fall, when that which has glimmered and filled our lives is having its last days, and falling to the earth from which it came. In this time of transition to winter, may we recognize and abandon the familiar attitudes and practices that do not serve the whole. We are who we are, and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, to create a new inheritance for the future. May our thoughts, words, and actions in our daily lives assist in dismantling paradigms of oppression and suffering. May we give thanks for our individual place in time and space, to our families and our relationships that touch and change us. May we give thanks to the wise teachers who help us remember how to be and the chance to make it so. Underneath and within these stories and histories is our humanity. Being human means we are of this earth. We are these waters, we are fire and atmosphere. We are the sun and the moon and the stars. We are all that we see, and wisdom is revealed by looking in between. Let us have a minute of silence for the prayers of our hearts. Let us name those we would hold in prayer. Carol. Let the prayers in our hearts and the names spoken here be held in the crucible of this community, and may we know that we are not alone. Amen and blessed be. Please rise as you are willing and able. For 360, here we have gathered. Our story today is called The Brave Little Parrot. It is a Jataka tale from India as written by Rafe Martin. Once long ago, the Buddha was born as a little parrot. One day, a storm broke upon her forest home. Lightning flashed, Thunder crashed, and a dead tree, struck by lightning, burst into flames. Sparks leapt on the wind, and soon the forest was ablaze. Animals ran wildly everywhere, in every direction, seeking safety from the smoke and the flames. "Fire, fire!" cried the little parrot. "Run, run to the river." Flapping her wings, she flung herself out into the fury of the storm, and rising higher and higher, flew towards the safety of the river. But as she flew, she could see that many animals were trapped, surrounded by the flames below, with no chance of escape. Suddenly, a desperate idea, a way to save them, came to her mind. She darted to the river, dipped herself in the water, and flew back over the raging fire. The heat rising up from the burning forest was like the heat of an oven. The thick smoke made breathing almost unbearable. A wall of flames shot up, now on one side, now on the other. Crackling flames leapt and danced before her. Twisting and turning through the mad maze of fire, the little parrot flew bravely on. At last, over the center of the forest, she shook her wings and released a few drips of water which still clung to her feathers. The tiny drops tumbled like jewels down into the heart of the blaze and vanished with a sss. Then the little parrot once more flew back through the flames and smoke to the river, dipped herself in the cool water, and flew back again over the burning forest. Back and forth she flew, time and time again, from the river to the forest, from the forest to the river. Her feathers were charred, her feet were scorched, her lungs ached. Her eyes, stung by smoke, burned red as coals, and her mind spun dizzily as the spinning sparks. But still, she flew on. At this time, some of the Devas, gods of a happy realm, were floating overhead in their cloud palaces of ivory and gold. They looked down and saw the little parrot flying through the flames. They pointed at her with perfect hands. Between mouthfuls of honeyed foods, they exclaimed, "Look at that foolish bird. She's trying to put out a raging forest fire with a few sprinkles of water. How ridiculous, how absurd." But one of those gods did not laugh. Strangely moved, he changed himself into a golden eagle and flew down, down, down towards the little parrot's fiery path. The little parrot was just nearing the flames again when the great eagle, with eyes like molten gold, appeared at her side. "Go back," said the eagle in a solemn and majestic voice. "Your task is hopeless. A few drops of water can't put out a forest fire. Cease now and save yourself before it's too late." But the little parrot continued to fly. She could hear the great eagle flying above her as the heat grew fiercer, calling out, "Stop, foolish little parrot, save yourself." "I don't need a great shining eagle," coughed the little parrot, "to give me advice like that. My own mother, the dear bird, might have told me such things long ago. Advice! I don't need advice. I need your help." And the god who was that great eagle, seeing the little parrot flying to the flames, thought suddenly of his own privileged kind. He could see them gloating up high above. Yes, there they were, the carefree gods, still laughing and talking while many animals cried out in pain and fear from among the flames. He grew ashamed, and a single desire was kindled in his heart. He just wanted to be like that brave little parrot and help. "I will help," he exclaimed, and flushed with these new feelings, he began to weep. Stream after stream of sparkling tears poured from his eyes. Wave upon wave they washed down like the cooling rain upon the fire, upon the forest, upon the animals, and upon the little parrot herself. Where those tears fell, the flames died down. The smoke cleared. The little parrot, washed and bright, rocketed about the sky, laughing for joy. "Now that's more like it," she exclaimed. The eagle's tears dripped from burned branches and soaked into the scorched earth. With those tears glistening, new life pushed quickly forth, stems, shoots, and leaves. Buds unfurled and blossoms opened. Green grass pushed up from among the still glowing cinders, and all the animals looked at themselves in amazement. Washed by those tears, they were whole and well. Not one had been harmed. And in the clear blue sky, they could see their friend, the little parrot, loping and soaring in delight. When hope was gone, somehow she had saved them. "Hurry, hooray," they cried. "Hooray for the brave little parrot and this sudden, miraculous rain." And that is the end of the story. Thank you, Ramona. We are a caring community where we share the joys which lift our hearts and the sorrows which bring us pain. As part of our worship service, we take time for the expression of our joys, concerns, and our sorrows. There are stones at the back, over there, and here in front. When the music begins, you are invited to come forward as you wish. Take a stone to represent whatever is in your heart or thoughts and place it in the bowl of water, which represents this beloved community. If you have mobility issues, please raise your hand and we'll drop a stone for you. And if you're watching from home, you're welcome to place a stone in water. Let us begin. May the joys and sorrows represented by these stones be held in the crucible of this beloved community, and may we know that we are not alone. Our reading today is "I Will Love You Into Being" by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. I will love you by being brave. I will walk directly into the eye of every storm, push back against the wind that tries to stop my forward motion, and bear the bruises from hailstones that mark my skin. I will love you by being strong. I will lift the weight of 1,000 broken hearts, pull the whole world behind me on a single chain, and break my own shell to grow tender and new. I will love you by being wise. I will close my mouth, open my eyes, my ears, my heart, push aside the obvious, the easy, the daring, and the dead, and begin again and again to know and not know everything of love. I will love you by being weak. I will reveal the tender and the vulnerable, hold myself open, pull off the armor, the exoskeleton, layer by layer, and build nothing in its place. I will love you by being. I will breathe in and out and cherish the beating of my heart, push back against anything that would suffocate my flame, burn away despair, and leave room for more love. I will love you by being weak. I will love you by being wise. I will love you by being strong. I will love you by being brave. I will love you by being. Our next hymn is number 95. There is more love somewhere. Let's remain seated for this meditative hymn. Today's message is about what happens when we think we know the world around us. Then we realize we don't know the world around us, and the gap between what we thought was true and what is really true asks for us to love ourselves into courageousness as we reshape who we are and reconsider our place in the order of things. When I first moved to the St. Louis region in 2005, I was entranced by the beauty of the woods. I called home and I said, "Mom, the woods here are frothy. The trees are so tall, and there's this shimmery bush that fills the forest floor. It is so beautiful." When the bushes erupted into red berries in the fall and fragrant white blossoms in the spring, the love affair was complete. 2 years later, my partner and I were ready to buy a house, and the woods were a big factor. We found a little fixer-up down by the Merrimack River, and at the back of our property was this massive sumac. I love sumac. Where I grew up, sumac is everywhere. So clearly, I was home. Something we didn't have, though, in that little place was privacy. The home was on an S-curve with nothing around the edges, so we were clearly in view from everywhere on the property. There was no place that was private, and we're outdoor people, so this just wasn't going to fly. And we noticed that there were shoots of this bush springing up around our property line. "Let's leave it," we said. "Just a few years and we'll have a thick wall of green sheltering us from the road." And that was exactly what happened. 10 years later, we decided to start native gardening. Native gardening is what you do when you only plant native plants, shrubs, and trees of the area you live in. We were introduced to this by my sister-in-law, who works for the University of Missouri Extension. And the goal of native gardening is to restore habitat, to support biodiversity, which grows the pollinator population and supports all kinds of wildlife. The first step is getting rid of the non-natives, especially the toxic, aggressive non-natives that push out the native plants. What do you think it was that we had let grow all around our property? Bush honeysuckle, which is not just non-native, but the most aggressive, invasive species in our area. Bush honeysuckle basically suffocates what would normally be the understory of the forest floor, like spice bushes and dogwoods and redbuds. It chokes them all out. And the small seedlings that are trying to grow, they get shaded by the bush honeysuckle and they can't grow to maturity, so it chokes everything out. We were like, oh my gosh, what have we done? Did you know that bush honeysuckle berries provide almost no nutrition? It's all sugar. Its berries are to birds like drinking Coke is to running a marathon. Overwintering birds who need rich seeds and berries, bush honeysuckle berries leave them wasted and weak. Birds that feed on the berries before they cross the Gulf of Mexico often don't make it because they don't have the energy. And it's one of the reasons that the bird population is decreasing so quickly and doesn't have much diversity. All the beauty that I had been bragging about to my family, that thick, imposing hedge that I was so proud of, wasn't so beautiful. And I looked at it in a whole new way. I felt different on my morning hike once I knew that the woods I was walking through were being smothered by bush honeysuckle. I understood why the sumac at the back of our property, the one that I was in love with that told me I was home, why it died out. What I thought I had been seeing, woods that shimmered with life, was in fact woods that were a food desert. The term food desert is used by native plant enthusiasts to identify an area that may look stunningly beautiful, but has little to no benefit to wildlife. That's a food desert. I bet that most of us have had this experience in some way. Maybe yours wasn't focused on an aggressive, invasive, but you think you know what's going on. You think you know what's right in front of you, and then you learn what's really going on. It could be a family secret or a simmering conflict or something way bigger, like our corrupt political system or the climate crisis or the power of fascism and racism in our country, the erosion of voting rights. I could go on and on. But once you are awake, there it is. And it takes courage to approach the truth that you are face to face with a food desert and that you're actually quite hungry and irritable. So what do you do? What do you do with your mind, with your heart, and your spirit, and your body? Today we're talking about pathways to courage. With pathways to courage, we focus on the courage as we embrace all kinds of changes. Here at this congregation, we are embracing courage to embrace this transition time that we are in between where we are here in this building and where we will be in the future. This involves looking at what we think we understand and know about ourselves and this congregation in new ways. It means loving ourselves and each other into courage, because it is human nature to get attached to the things that are comfortable to us, that have become part of our identity. But in truth, some of these things that we cling to have become food deserts. They're no longer feeding us. We start getting hungry and irritable, losing energy, but it's our nature to resist, because who are we without these things that are now part of our identity? We look for people to scapegoat, when it's really the system we all created that is making us hungry and irritable. The journey we are on asks us to risk being wide awake. And this takes a lot of courage, whatever our place in this congregation. Member, friend, leader, minister, we all have a stake in what we have here in this beloved community. We're being called to courageous love because to live wide awake can mean sacrificing things we consider essential. And it takes courage to trust that if we do this, we will emerge from our food deserts and be nourished and renewed. Now, we know this doesn't just happen in churches, right? It happens in our careers, in our personal lives, in our marriages and partnerships, in our core family units, chosen or born, and with our beloveds. It is happening in our cities, our states, and our nation, causing a lot of hurt. There is so much hunger and irritability. You can see it pouring out in the midterm elections as we get closer and closer. There are so many food deserts. Did you know how bush honeysuckle got here? It's quite a story. When European settlers arrived, they brought the plants, trees, birds, and animals they loved. So, for instance, the starlings, those speckled birds that fly in those breathtaking swarms that shift and twist and bend? They're non-native. They aggressively compete with native birds for habitat, and they usually win. Queen Anne's lace, that round, white, lacy flower you see in the roadsides in late summer? Not from here, and aggressive. Lilacs, boxwoods, burning bush, mimosa trees, tulips, daffodils, peonies, rose of Sharon, pampas grass. All not from here. Some aggressive. And those perfect lawns we create and are so proud of, they are of European and Asian origin, and they are aggressive. Eurasian bush honeysuckle arrived in the 1890s as an ornamental bush. And then it became extremely prevalent when it was used between the lanes of an interstate to prevent soil erosion. If we choose to be wide awake and anchor ourselves in courageous love, what we actually have before us is a clear example of how the culture of domination carried by European settlers literally reshaped the North American landscape. Europeans built their empires with an innate sense of entitlement that whatever they saw and liked was for the taking. When they came here and saw the unending wilderness, they believed that they were responsible to tame and civilize it, not only by removing the original nations who lived here, but also by introducing European understandings of natural beauty to the land itself. And this means that Indian removal and the introduction of non-native plants, the way we tend our lawns and our gardens, it's all interconnected in this colonial domination mindset that the earth is there for the taking, that it serves us. And we know where that is getting us, right? The earth is suffocating, and so are we. So my partner Lori and I got to work. I got a chainsaw. Yes, I am a dyke who loves power tools. I love my power tools. I have fallen in love with them, and I have this great chainsaw now. And the burning bushes are gone. The rose of Sharon is gone. And that thick bush honeysuckle, I started, but it was too much, and we actually had to pay a company to finish the job. And I know we're privileged to be able to do that, but that's what we did. But we'll have to treat that area for years. And I've had to accept that sometimes you just need to use chemicals. I hate Roundup, and yet that's what I'm buying. It's like you have to do more damage to undo the bigger damage that got you into the food desert in the first place. Our Unitarian Universalist theology pays a lot of attention to the food deserts we have created. And I'm using that term literally and metaphorically. I think you probably realize that by now. Our theology is based on the conviction that we live an interconnected web of life. Everything touches everything else. Food deserts happen when we've broken strands of that web. In the natural world, it's like, when you run through a spider web on the trail, and then the spider respins that web over and over again, no matter how many times it's run through. In UU theology, we are spiders. We have a deep responsibility to help respin the web because we keep breaking the strands. And that's why social justice is a core spiritual practice for Unitarian Universalists. You can't just have spirituality and be a Unitarian Universalist, because spirituality without action is a hollow faith. It's like eating honeysuckle berries and trying to fly across the Gulf of Mexico. Similarly, action without a spiritual center is devoid of love. And it's love that carries us through the courageous things we try to do to make things right. Love for all of life. Let's recall the words of our reading by Reverend Sean Dennison. I will love you by being brave. I will walk directly into the eye of every storm. I will love you by being strong. I will lift the weight of 1,000 broken hearts, pull the whole world behind me on a single chain, and break my own shell to grow tender and new. And here at First UU Alton, we keep trying to break our shells to courageously love the world. Our fourth Saturdays provide personal toiletries and snacks to the homeless and vulnerable in our area. We have had a postcard drive to encourage people to vote. We witness for LGBTQ equality. And I would have to say that among all the congregations in St. Louis, you are the front runner in transgender and non-binary inclusion. You really, really are. It's quite an accomplishment. We are committed as well to racial equality, and all of these things are connected to each other. All of them. And it takes courage to do this, because sometimes we feel like that little parrot, shaking a few drops of water from our wings to put out a fire. How can we possibly make a difference? I don't have a pat answer for that, because I'm a Unitarian Universalist and we don't have pat answers for things. But I do know that the irritability and hunger that we so often feel is calling us. It is always calling us beyond the food deserts we have created to new life. So 3 years into clearing our yard, we have so much new life. The asters just finished their full glory. We have the ironweed, goldenrod, the phlox, the Susans of many kinds, the rattlesnake master, the partridge pea, the coneflowers, the rose verbena, the wild petunias, the coral honeysuckle, and the milkweeds outdid themselves this year, even though we were in a drought and a heat wave. And next spring, we're planting native bushes around our property where that honeysuckle bush used to be, including sumac. So if I get hungry and irritated, I just walk out the door for some love, even in the winter when all that's left are the dried out stems that provide habitat for insect hibernation. So let's have the courage to pay attention to our hunger and our irritability, because they show us the food deserts that are calling to us and asking for our love. We'll close with the words of Reverend Dennison. I will love you by being. I will breathe in and out and cherish the beating of my own heart, pushing back against anything that would suffocate my flame. May it be so. Please rise as you do. For hymn 121, We'll Build a Every week, we take an offering to support the many life-saving ministries of this congregation. And this week, our offering is a bit different because it is dedicated to the Ministerial Discretionary Fund. This fund is used to help our members and friends in time of dire financial need. This fund has helped to buy groceries, clothing, appliances, pay for utilities, rent, and much more. Please give generously so that we can be there for our people when they most need it. If you're joining us online, you can mail your financial gift, or you can give electronically through the Givelify or PayPal links on the church's website. Let us receive the offering. Thank you. So we do have some, thank you very much. Oh yeah, we're going to please, I always forget this part, I'm sorry. Blessing the offering. Please join me with me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and to seek justice. So this is the time for announcements. I would like to read a card first. This was sent to the congregation from the youth group at Elliott Unitarian Chapel that visited us last week. Thank you so much for your warm welcome and generous hospitality. We had a great experience at your church. Thank you for welcoming us for the meal, basement tour, and such a memorable UU experience. What a great opportunity for UU connections and fellowship with love and gratitude. Yay. Also, following the meeting we had last week about the priorities for our building, it became clear that more conversation was needed. So a second part to that conversation will take place on Sunday, November 13th, which is also the date of our bread communion, which is when people bring bread or baking that is significant to them. So we will be meeting again after that service. Are there any other announcements? Okay. There's a welcome party on November the 12th Yeah, there's an RSVP in the newsletter probably to get for how to reach you. And it's on the Facebook page, so all are welcome, whether you are new or you've been here your whole life.
We'll provide meat and vegetarian filler options that people can bring with you.
Yeah, that sounds good. So there'll be lots of people can bring tortillas and toppings, and there'll be the main stuff will be here. There's a sheet on the buffet for signups and for the Thanksgiving dinner, which will be held here on Thanksgiving Day as well. So we've got some good social stuff coming up in the next little while, which is great. Are there any other announcements that need to be lifted up here today? All right, so please join me in our chalice extinguishing. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are the keepers of this flame until we meet again. Go in peace. And not until we have our post lead. Happy Halloween, everyone. Now we can go in peace and enjoy each other's company. Thank you for being here today.